Hi, I'm Ree from mummyoffour.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little bit of a life update for you after we had Bella's assessment results yesterday from her ADOS autism assessment. So I am going to be sharing with you exactly what happened in that yesterday. If you haven't yet caught my previous videos, which are kind of the ones that go before this, I have got the video about our autism story up until the point of the social communication clinic. So that's the whole autism diagnosis process for my son and halfway through the process with my daughter. And then I did a video about the ADOS assessment that Bella had and how I felt the ADOS assessment went, and in that video I broke down everything that happens in the assessment in minute detail. So if you haven't caught those videos yet, go back and catch up with those. I shall link those down in the description below. Watch those first and this one will make a whole lot more sense. Anyway, before we get into it, if you are new here, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at 7 p.m. I do post videos about our autism story, but also kind of day in the life videos, shop with me videos, haul videos, cleaning videos, and parenting tips, tricks, hacks and advice, everything that helps me manage with 4 children and just keep it all together really. So yesterday, if you saw my Instagram stories, you'll know that I was overwhelmed and I couldn't really talk about it, and I kind of logged off for the evening, and now I've kind of pulled myself together and I am filming this video for you to fill you in really on what's going on. As you know, if you watched the other videos, my second son, my younger son Will, who is now 8, went through the diagnosis process when he was just about to turn 4, and he came out with a diagnosis of moderate autism. So the banding scale is mild autism, moderate autism, or high levels of autism. But those are just the kind of bandings of the severity of the symptoms of autism. So as Will was diagnosed with moderate autism, and Bella's autism, if it was in existence, I believed wasn't as severe as Will's, mainly because none of the school had any concerns. It was only kind of myself and my husband that have these concerns from perhaps knowing her really, really well, seeing her around the clock and knowing so much about autism. So I figured yesterday we'd either come out with, yes, there are signs here, but she's not quite high enough on the scale to qualify for a diagnosis. I thought that might have been likely. I thought the most likely outcome, I think, was mild autism. I thought that's what was going to happen. And I thought at a stretch, we could be looking at moderate autism, which is sort of the same level as well. And I thought that would be a stretch, but I thought, you know, she's a girl presenting differently and whatever. So they would perhaps be kind of on the same level, but with kind of different symptoms of difficulty. So that's what I thought was going to happen. And if you watch the ADOS assessment video, then you will know that I kind of watched it very, very carefully, had taken masses of notes, and I had lots of opinions on what I thought they might have scored her on. Anyway, yesterday I went to this meeting. I went with Zara. My husband wasn't able to come with me, he was working, so I was just going to go and kind of report back to him. And the consultant sat me down and she was so lovely. It was the same consultant, it was the consultant and a speech and language therapist who did the actual ADOS assessment, and it was they had kind of sat down together and really gone over everything with a fine-tooth comb and scored this very, very carefully, and they'd been back over and over it. And it had been 2 weeks past between the assessment and when they called me back in to give me the diagnosis. So I took Zara with me. She had a little lunch box and she was luckily so well behaved for me to sit and kind of digest all this information. This really lovely consultant went through absolutely everything with me, everything that they picked up. I will luckily get all of this in a report, because I must admit it was such a lot to take in, and I left there feeling totally overwhelmed, like I could not regurgitate any of that information at all. Feeling a bit better today, but yesterday full on overwhelm. So a lot of the things that I mentioned in that ADOS video, in fact pretty much everything I mentioned in that ADOS video that I thought they may have scored as a trait of autism, they scored as a trait of autism. So I picked up most of it, and I was kind of right, I guess, about everything I'd noticed while I observed the ADOS through the one-way glass. But they had also picked up lots of other things, such as a real fascination with numbers and things. And really, when I think about it, she has got a massive fascination with numbers. And they said even they didn't see it was that apparent during the assessment, but it was only when they went back to their notes and they kind of went through those that they really picked that up, and that really does make sense. So I'm not going to go into absolutely everything that they picked up on right now. You can go back and watch that last video if you want to know more about that, because really we would be here all day. What I'm here to share with you today is the actual result they came up with and how I then reacted to that. So the really lovely consultant went through all this stuff with me, and the diagnosis came out as high level of autism, which I was so shocked at. So they really said that at the time, even watching the ADOS, they weren't going to be able to predict what the score was going to be until the score came out the other end. They watch the behaviours, they get scored in a really detailed, very specific way. You've got to be very highly trained to do properly. Obviously I was kind of just using conjecture in my last video, but these people are really, really highly trained at being able to score this. They know so much about it, and then those numbers get put into an algorithm, and the algorithm throws out a number at the other end, and that puts you somewhere on the scale at mild, moderate or high. So I was shocked, just shell shocked that it came out as high. Just shocked. Like, shocked's the only word I can come up with. I can't think of any other words. I was shocked. And when I later went to the school and I spoke to the head and the staff that teach her and the staff that had previously taught her, they were all shocked too. How did I feel after? Other than shock, obviously I cried. Obviously I cried. I cried when they told me, and then I pulled myself together and really tried to listen and absorb the information. Spent the rest of the day kind of just a bit shocked and numb, I guess. And really the range of emotions I went through after it. I mean, I cried when I had my son's diagnosis as well. I think it's an element of build up, an element of relief. You're going to be able to get them the help they need, an element of perhaps grieving, because not because there's anything wrong with it at all, but just because you don't want your children to have to struggle with anything, really, do you? I mean, as a mum, in an ideal world, wouldn't you just be like, I want my children to just have the easiest possible, happiest life possible? And I know she is such a happy child, and she is going to have a wonderful and happy life. I know that, but only because now I'm able to get her the help that she's going to need. So, emotions I went through, I guess sadness, slightly grieving for, you know, the fact that maybe she's going to struggle with certain things more than I was hoping. Now, getting the diagnosis doesn't change that. The condition, or whatever you want to call it, is there whether you get the diagnosis or not. This is just allowing me to be able to access the help that she's going to need. So it's a positive thing, but I'm just explaining the range of kind of emotions I went through. Guilt. Is it something I've done? It's not something I've done, but obviously as a mum we always feel it's something we've done. Have I done the right thing in getting the diagnosis? Have I put a label on her, which I know now to be nonsense? I mean, in my head I know this is nonsense, because like I said, if something's there, it's there, and if you get a diagnosis you can access them the help they need. Getting the diagnosis doesn't change anything other than changing things in a positive way. So getting a diagnosis means that her life will be easier, but still I felt guilt. Denial, maybe they got it wrong, they didn't get it wrong. But I think these are just the range of emotions that we kind of go through and feel. And it's the next day now, I've had a good night's sleep, we've had lots of cuddles, and I can only see it now as a positive thing, and going forward it can only be a positive thing. So I know last night I couldn't even talk about it. I came onto stories, and I know so many of you were kind of wanting to know that we were okay, and wanting to know how it went, and wanting to know what was going on, and I couldn't even talk about it, and I'm sorry, and I know it's being vague, but I just kind of needed that time to just process, I think. So today I'm feeling so much stronger, and I really am seeing all the positive. Like I've said a couple of times now, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. I can now access the help that she needs. I spoke to the staff in the school who previously had no concerns, and I went over things that they'd said in the ADOS as much as I could remember. They will luckily have a full report to fill in the gaps for all the bits I've missed, but even the consultant said the school never could have picked this up, because it's only someone really trained in this field that's going to be able to diagnose this kind of thing. It is so difficult to diagnose girls with autism. I think the statistics are something like there's like 10 boys to 1 girl with autism, but really I guess that's all that means is there's 10 boys to 1 girl that's actually being diagnosed with autism. So there are so many girls, and I've heard so many stories about girls that have gone undiagnosed, and they've struggled and struggled. It's not till they've got to their teen years that they've been diagnosed, and they've struggled for all that time, and they felt anxiety and they felt depressed, and all these emotions just because they didn't know why they felt that bit different. And I just really hope that now the positive that will come out of this is Bella won't feel like that, because I will be able to put things in place just as I have for Will, and Will is really thriving. Both of them are very intelligent, very happy children, and I really do believe that William wouldn't be thriving the way he is now if we hadn't got him that diagnosis, because the school have been amazing. But they can't know how to help my children the best way for them unless they know what they're dealing with, so the diagnosis will get them that. So anyway, I spoke to the school yesterday, and they are more than keen to put everything in place that they need to support her. And although she may not be, like, on the face of it struggling now, I really do believe a kind of getting ahead of the curve. And if we know that these are the difficulties that she has and these are the struggles that she will face, she might be masking it really well now, because little girls really do, and all girls by all accounts with autism mask it really, really well. But by getting these things put in place now, we're not going to let it get to a stage where it's got really, really bad and she's really struggling and doesn't want to go to school, because we can put everything in place now. I think if I had waited longer, if I sort of had these niggling feelings and I'd waited longer, then we would have been in the education system, not in the health system. I think I talked about this in a previous video, so I won't sort of go on and on about this, but basically around here the cutoff point is 5. The health system is reasonably easy to get through, the education system is very difficult to get through. So if I'd waited until things got worse, then we would have been in a different system. It would have been much harder to get a diagnosis, much harder to access the help, and we would have had that long drawn out process while she was still struggling. So I can only see this as a positive now. I think I've done the right thing. I hope I've done the right thing. I've done the right thing. The staff in the school was so lovely. It made me cry actually, because they sort of commended me for picking it up and for doing the right thing. So yeah, I think I've done the right thing. So all I can say to you is, if you're a parent with any concerns at all about your own children, please trust your gut and fight for your children. And if you're wrong, do you know what, if you're being paranoid and it turns out that you're wrong and that there is nothing the matter, and then where's the harm? These are not invasive tests. If you have concerns, trust your gut, because you know your children best, and push. Just keep pushing until you can get your children the help that they need. Get it checked. That's what I'm saying, get it checked. Talk to your own doctor, talk to the school. If you have any concerns, please trust your gut. Don't worry about people thinking you're mad or people thinking you're paranoid, because trust me, I've been there. Just trust your gut. And this isn't going to change anything really. I mean, she's still my wonderful, beautiful Bella, and she's gorgeous and she's happy and she's so clever and she's funny and she's just such a beautiful person inside and out. And this doesn't change anything. It just means she just has slightly different difficulties, you know. She's probably not going to struggle with reading and writing like some children do, and she's just going to struggle with other things. But hopefully this means that I can get her that help that she needs to not struggle so much. So I'm now going to leave you with some of my favourite bits of Bella from the last year, so that you're left with her smiling, not me crying.
I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do? My life was great till you added colors. Like the moon is the sun, we don't care about the others. I just wanna love
you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button whenever you need us.
That's very good, Bella. Hit the bell button whenever you need us, yes.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we post more videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday at 7 p.m. If you want to see Mummy's latest video, it's over here. And if you want to see one of Mummy's other videos, it's down here. Bye bye!